Hello everybody, hope you're doing well. Welcome back to another One Piece review. This time we're covering Manga chapter 1173. And immediately this chapter was a step above the previous chapter, what was, I thought, an average chapter. This chapter was a lot better, but that's not saying a whole lot. But there are a lot of things that I appreciate about this chapter. The main one being we got content involving Brook and Gunko, which I'm sure a lot of people were waiting to see. Dead serious on speedrunning the ending of Elbath this year, so we got certain plot points that would have dragged on, but Oda decided to wrap up in this chapter, so I appreciate that. Usopp and Chopper on the cover page is a cover request, of course. And we got Usopp smothering his nose in honey to lure out a rhinoceros beetle for whatever reason. I guess it's a cover request. One of the major elements of this chapter is the fact that Usopp now, along with the rest of the Straw Hats that were previously restrained, are set free. So we start off with this chapter and with Zoro's plan, and one of the things I really appreciate, like I said, with Oda not dragging certain things out, was immediately cut into Zoro's plan and not drawing this out to the end of this chapter, which he probably would have if had this been another arc. But Oda decided to start off with Zoro's plan, and it wasn't really much of a plan. It was just like a strategy to avoid the conflict by getting sandwiched in between, as Stanson and Haradine pointed out. So, but I like how before Zoro clues them in on his plan, he's like, "Is it okay if I go ahead and unleash an attack on them?" Because asking for permission. So I like the fact that Zoro has some respect for Stanson and Haradine. We even get to see that further on when he's calling them brothers, so I like that as well. Basically, it's a straightforward strategy. It's like to avoid them by bouncing up above instead of facing them into and getting sandwiched in between to avoid the conflict. He bounces off the giants' heads and attacks from above. He takes out if I can call them the fodder giants before he runs into Dory and Brogy. So Zoro uses his three-sword style, crossing the six paths, which I think is a badass move. He takes out this group of giants before dealing with Dory and Brogy. It's like that doesn't even amount to much because they end up taking themselves out, at least for the time being. Because we see Dory and Brogy enter the scene with Zoro there, and they try to attack, but Zoro dodges, and immediately they end up attacking each other. You see the shields completely slashed in two, but they also land attacks on one another because you see a faraway panel, and it looks like they cut each other. But they're in the demon form, so I'm pretty sure it's not going to be too much of an issue. Then we cut to Brook, who is on the trail of Gunko, which apparently he was able to detach himself from the rest of the crew. This is the part of the chapter I was looking forward to the most because it was teased in the previous chapter. Brook was disappeared. We didn't see him at all, so clearly it was Gunko related, and turns out that's the case. Oda doesn't waste any time by Brook saying, "Hey, Princess Shuri, are you there? Are you Princess Shuri?" And that pretty much catches the attention of Gunko. So immediately we got more to the name of Gunko. I'll get to that in a second, but this definitely gets the attention of Gunko / Ibu, or Princess Shuri in this case. Then Brook goes on to say, "I can't see how you could possibly be her, but I'm certain it's hard to deny you're the spitting image of Princess Shuri." There's more layers to this because there's Oda's being very vague with this, but at the same time he's not wasting time. But he's giving us doses of information, even though he's not following up on it. Even though the backstory panel that we got clearly shows Gunko was a child when they last met. So obviously things have changed, and of course Brook is saying that of course you won't recognize me because my appearance is different from the last time we met. Then Brook goes on to say, "Even if you aren't the princess, surely you must be of her blood. You must be related to her by blood." So again, immediately Oda's being very vague, even though he's given a doses of information. If the princess were alive today, she would be nearing 80 by now. Of course, she doesn't even resemble the age of 80. So of course she wouldn't recognize me given how much I changed. So obviously their appearance have changed since the last time they met. I mean, that's life. I like how, even though we got the visuals of how the Holy Knights look on the cover of the recent volume with the Holy Knights, Oda decides to confirm the fact of Gunko's appearance. Oh yeah, those features of the blue hair and the mismatched eye color and the connection to the Holy Land. So if you were one of those that were hoping for Gunko to have a different color design, much like the people was hoping for, I don't know, Garling to have like red hair, even though it was crystal clear that a child is composed of the DNA of 2 people, not just one. Immediately people freaked out about that. So I imagine the only people that are going to freak out about this are the people that want a Gunko to look a certain way. Plus, Brook says, plus you're fond of my music too, aren't you? Every single detail's a perfect match, Princess Shuri. But then Oda flips the script, and then what it looked like a wholesome relationship between the two looks a lot more diverse and a lot more complex, because Brook goes on to say, I'd hope I'd go the rest of my life without ever having to think about you again. And I'm like, damn. Because I owed everything to the man whose life you took. So again, Oda is like being very vague with the information he's given us. But then it's these words by Brook that starts to trigger the PTSD within Gunko, because it's like, then this is affecting Gunko, because Imu is immediately like, Gunko, are thy memories beginning to return? We can't have that. So immediately there's a tug of war between the control, because immediately following that, for a brief moment, Gunko snaps out of this Imu trance, and tells Brook, you have to run away. But then in that brief moment where Gunko slightly regains control, so it's a tug of war between Imu and Gunko that allows Brook to like get free from the bandages that was like tying him up. And this also releases Usopp, Nami, Jinbei, because the way that Oda's like giving us the scene is very vague. Yes, we are getting context, but it's like Oda's giving us doses where I don't even know if Oda's going to follow this up with a flashback, at least not right now. Then Imu immediately regains control of Gunko as Brook's leg got caught by the bandages, so he's not technically totally free yet, but he's still able to put up a defense, because immediately Brook is like, well, first off, Brook responds, why the hell did you tell me to run? I came to settle the matter. Who are you? And then Gunko immediately charges in, and then Gunko comes in to attack, and then responds, shut thy mouth, who art thou, to Gunko. So immediately that's Imu's influence taking over again. But I like how Brook's able to put a defense to the attack. That was by far and away the best part of the entire chapter, and by far and away this moment was like the peak of the chapter, if I'm being completely honest. Like this whole, even though Oda could have given us more information if he really wanted to, but it's still the best part of the entire chapter, because we cut from there to what we got with Usopp, Jinbei, and Nami being freed. Usopp, of course, like totally BSing, thinking like he did mind tricks to get himself free, even though it was Brook and Gunko's conflict that released them. I like how Nami's trying to get Robin free, but it's no use. But Robin's like, forget me and focus on the kids of Elbaf. So Robin technically now is the only one that's kind of restrained right now. But then Nami notices Sanji, because we hear Sanji saying, Nami Thwan, coming in. So I don't know what he's going to do. Although I hope he just like, sooner rather than later, he deals with Saint Summers. This is the part of the chapter where it focuses on the kids of Elbaf, where they start walking to the ship, and you got Summers there coaching them on, keep moving, just keep moving. And of course, Colin, being the child of Gaban and Ripley, tries to like stand his ground against Saint Summers. Although we know how Saint Summers likes to treat kids here, so that's not going to. I thought this was not going to end up well for him. But immediately following this, we got the parents on the scene, led by Ripley, which is kind of cool, because considering like I was kind of wondering what she would do. They enter the scene, but they're immediately attacked by a giant creature resembling Nika, which I guess one of the kids has a powerful fear of Nika. They're able to dodge the attack. In fact, they actually counter with an attack of their own that lands on the Nika creature, which I thought was kind of cool. Because you got, like I said, you got Ripley leading the charge, and I don't know how much Oda's going to focus on this group, so it's kind of cool. We've got the name of the title of the chapter coming from the dialogue here. We come from the generation of warriors, so that's really cool. But it doesn't really do much to the sneaker creature, because he tries to stab him again, but this allows Gerd, Goldberg, and Roto to approach the scene. Now that they're kind of like some distance away, so they're not going to be able to like help out close range. So what they do, so they're able to like help out by using a combo attack. First, it's like Gerd and Goldberg. They're stancing up to like use the what it looked like the signature Elbaf combo move, but they added a twist because they added Roto to the scene and they named it a different attack. So they used the three generals Goku Sovereignty, which is another variation of the Ikaku Sovereignty that we've seen Big Mom use or we've seen Dory and Brogy use. But here it's like we see it from three. So I like the fact that Oda switched it up. We got it from Roto, Gerd, and Goldberg to launch the attack, and it sends Nika flying into St. Summers, which sends it crashing into the ship and obliterates that ship. But that was the main purpose of it. And you got this face of St. Summers like, oh shit, literally. But to end this chapter, like I said, very straightforward. But that's how Oda decides to end the chapter. First and foremost, I like the fact, like I said before, Oda used this chapter to wrap up some plot points that, had this been another arc, I'm pretty sure he would have dragged out. But Oda's like following through with what he said about he's looking to like speed up or speed run the ending of Elbaf this year. So Oda decides to wrap up this plot point. And I said this in my last review, like the whole plot point of the kids going to the ship, that's not going to happen. So I'm glad Oda didn't waste too much time with this and decided to end it up with the ending of this chapter. We could also move on from what Zoro's plan was to counter like saving Jarl from Dory and Brogy. So now we know we don't need to worry about that. And now we can look forward to Zoro's fight with whichever Holy Knight Oda decides to pair Zoro up with. I'm ready for it. But like I said, the best part of this entire chapter for me was the stuff we got with Brook and Gunko, or Princess Shuri in this case. I don't know. It seems to me there's like more to it than what we've seen. So let's talk about that, since in my opinion it was the best part of the entire chapter with Brook and Gunko. Now there's going to be a lot of people like talking about this because they were hoping or like thinking that Gunko was the daughter of Brook, considering what we heard or what we saw in chapter 1149 when we first got the tease of there being a connection between Brook and Gunko. You saw the dialogue and we saw Gunko mention father before the PTSD kicked in, and we saw the demonic transformation via Emu. Before that, we got the flashback panels. We got Gunko screaming at father. We got Gunko and Brook we got Gunko as a child. As Brook is laughing, he's also telling Gunko, "My dream is to become a pirate." And then after that, PTSD kicked in, and that's where the Emu takeover was complete. So we got more of that in this chapter as well. So clearly, it's the PTSD with Brook that triggered the back and forth here. Now, after that chapter, after chapter 1149, and we got that moment, a lot of people jumped the gun here and, oh, we got a connection between Gunko and Brook. Oh, Brook may be the father, which even at that point, when I reviewed that chapter, I literally said, hold your horses here, because especially in One Piece, it's like relatives in One Piece, it's not always blood related, like, especially when it comes to siblings. Like, we know this. So I said, put the brakes on. We don't know. There's more to this. And even if you go back and look at that scene, there's clearly context missing, because what we see in this now, either there's context missing from that chapter, or Oda decided to switch his mind up and add a couple of things here and completely like dumb down what we saw in chapter 1149. For instance, the scene where it looked like Brook and Gunko, for the most part, looked very harmonious, like kind of joyful for one another. Like, so that may be why the back and forth was there. But in this chapter, you do not get that impression, because the impression you get is like Brook really does not like Princess Shuri or Gunko because of whatever she did to this quote-unquote man that she murdered. Now, we still don't know a whole lot about that. Like I said, I don't know if Oda's going to give us a backstory involving Brook and Gunko. If he does, I doubt it's going to be here in Elbaf, considering we just got done with a gigantic flashback. So I'm pretty much tapped out at this point. As much as I want to see it, I think we can all agree we've got enough backstory from Elbaf. So this is why Oda's giving us bits and pieces of information, but it seems like there's a difference, because I don't know, like Brook telling Gunko, I hoped I'd go the rest of my life without having to ever think about you again. is not really something that a father would say to a quote-unquote daughter. So that right there, Oda puts the kibosh on the theory that Gunko is Brook's daughter in any way, shape, or form. I said that from the get-go, but it seems like Oda, nope. There is more to Gunko than meets the eye here, and I'm not just talking about her appearance or a name. So either Gunko is the child of this Princess Shuri because of the way that Brook was describing Gunko's appearance now, considering, oh, you should be 80 right now. Clearly, she doesn't look 80. Then you got Ibu calling Princess Shuri Gunko. So either Gunko is the daughter of Princess Shuri, or Gunko is just an alias, and there's more to this character than meets the eye. Either way, I'm excited to learn more about this. Like I said, the best part of the entire chapter, the peak of the chapter for me, the other takeaway from this chapter is the fact finally what Nami, Jinbei, and most importantly Usopp free from the bandages of Gunko. Let's be real here. The real reason Oda had this interaction between Brook and Gunko, because in my opinion, Oda realized the situation and the problem with Nami, Jinbei, and especially Usopp being tied up, Gunko's bandages. Because had this been dragged on, what role would they have had leading into the finale of Elbaf? Not much. So Oda decided to correct that and decided to free them. The only part of the problem is Robin is now the only one that's nerfed and restrained. So I hope that changes, or we have to subject ourselves to either Zoro or Sanji taking out this clown Summers before we can get Oda hopefully following up on what has been a hype arc for Robin so far in Elbaf. Hopefully Oda can follow through with that. And one thing does creep into mind here as far as Robin being restrained. I hope it doesn't take because of the hype that we've gotten from the live action season 2 and how Lyra above it has been killing it as nicorobin in her role from what we've seen. I hope that's not what pushes Oda to have Robin shine in this arc. He started off very good, so I hope it doesn't go to waste here like he did, because it started off very good in Egg Island, but then and we know how that ended up. So I hope we don't get a repeat here. Just saying. The only thing noteworthy as far as Robin's concerned right now is the fact that we just got done celebrating Nico Robin's birthday, which it's kind of cool in one way, but it's kind of sad that we have to wait again for a situation to hope that Robin gets her flowers here. But that's my only nitpick for this chapter. It was a step above the previous chapter we got. It was a very good chapter, which is not really saying much considering previous chapters are very average at best. This chapter was a step above that because of Gunko and Brook. Learning more. I want to learn more about Gunko than Brook, to be honest with you. But that's just me. Like I said, I don't know if Oda's going to give us the backstory here, or if he's just giving us doses now to set us up for later down the road. But one thing you can't deny, Oda is dead set on speedrunning the ending of Elbaf this year. And it's clear as day now on why Oda's had Loki and Luffy absent for these past 2 chapters. It's because he needs to give this shine to Zoro and Sanji. Now, I hope it doesn't take too long, like I said, for Robin's sake, considering she's the only one that's restrained right now. So I hope that changes very soon. So I don't know who Saint Summers goes to, nor do I care. Like I said, it makes more sense for Sanji, but at this point, as long as it gets Robin free so she can contribute, like Usopp can hopefully contribute now he's free, better late than never. So I hope Oda follows through with that. Those are my thoughts. Please tell me yours in the comments below. That's going to do it for you guys. If you enjoyed this video, you guys know what to do with that thumbs up. I appreciate that. I appreciate you guys' support when it comes to these reviews. Catch you guys later. Thanks, guys. Bye.